Well, hello everybody. Pastor Randy here. Welcome to Making It Simple. It's a beautiful Monday. Glad to be back with you today as we continue in our Picking the Vine teaching series as we look deeper at the fruit of the Spirit. So we've covered love, we've covered joy. We see that move us to the next place, which is peace. I want to do a quick introduction to this today, and then we'll get deeper in the lesson through the week. When you hear that word, peace, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Everyone has got a different answer to that, but mostly, we somewhat go to the classic definition, the absence of conflict. In other words, I want peace in my life. I want world peace. I want economic peace. All these different things that we associate with no conflict. In other words, there's no trouble. There's no issue. There's no nothing. We've seen eras of time be defined by that. You know, the time of peace, or we are looking for a time of peace. We get the peace sign. You know, we've got protest for peace, that sometimes turns violent, which is a little irony there. But I want us to understand what is being said in Paul's letter. We have to understand the eternal components of the fruit of the Spirit. Yes, they are visible in our life. They are just as visible and tangible as an apple, an orange, a pear, or whatever on a tree, a grape on a vine. But when we begin to understand the eternal component of this, then we begin to realize it's possible. You see, when we begin to understand love and we remove that from just simply an emotional thing in our life. In other words, I love this, I love this, I love you. Emotions play a role in that, but when we begin to understand that is an action, that is a reception into my life of how much God loves me and equips me with the ability to love. Because I am loved, I can love. Just like forgiveness, because I am forgiven, I am able to forgive. So when we begin to understand the concept of how deep and how much God loves us, then we're able to find joy. Okay, and then we realize that joy is not dictated by what happens in this world. Because if we simply only apply joy to our life because of what happens in the world, we tend to not be very joyful because it is an ebb and flow. It is an in and out. It is the wind blowing east and west and every other kind of way. It's all over the place. Joy has to be something within our hearts because we have the joy of God. Jesus said, I give you my joy that your joy might be full. If we stay plugged in, just like we talked about in our last teaching thing about the vine and the branches, if we keep those two things connected, our joy remains full because I have the joy of the Lord. I know that God loves me. That brings me great joy, which brings me peace. Peace is not the absence of conflict. That is not what this verse is about. Because in this world, as long as this world continues to exist, as long as people are in this world, and as long as we are outside of the realm of the reign of Christ when he comes back, there will never be peace. That is not a negative statement. That is a factual statement. Why will there never be peace? Because people aren't going to allow it. It's just that simple. The enemy is always going to tempt. The enemy is always going to confound and conflict and everything else. And people are going to always be at odds. I mean, you look at it today, whether it's from politics, whether it's world issues and lifestyle issues, or this discussion, that discussion, religion, everything. There's always a conflict, friends. I mean, people are at odds all the time. Even within the animal kingdom, things are at odds because one thing wants to eat the other, right? And so we see a constant a constant thing there that does not allow peace in the sense of the understanding of the absence of conflict. But that's not what that word means. Not in the context of the fruit of the Spirit. The peace that I have that comes because I am loved, because I have joy, is because now I can find peace with God. And that is a peace that surpasses all understanding. Because regardless of what's going on around me in this world that is filled with conflict, that is filled with, venom and all the different just horrible things sometimes that seems to go on. When my relationship with God is in the right place, I know I'm loved, regardless of what the world says. And that brings me joy. And that level of joy allows me inwardly to find peace, because I realize that regardless of the conflict in the world, regardless of the conflict in my own mind and in my own life, and maybe wondering about who does or doesn't like me, or who does or doesn't agree with me, or what I do or don't agree with, I can have peace with God. And all of these equate an eternal vision. In other words, I don't want to go as far as saying it doesn't matter what happens here, because obviously it impacts us in different ways. But at the end of the day, it doesn't, because eternally I have settled things with God. And I know that if I close my eyes in death right this minute, I get to go be with Him. That is a peace that nothing should be able to take away. And just like our joy, nothing should be able to take that away, because God gave it to me. It's mine. I shouldn't let anybody or anything steal that, just like the fact that God loves me. You see how all these things tie together? The fact that God loves me completely negates the fact of whether you do. And I don't mean that rude or disrespectful, but that has no bearing on my joy or my peace. Or it shouldn't. We're going to look deeper at this word over the next several days, because there is so much to see, because we allow our love and our joy to be impacted by the reception of different things in this world, which ultimately lead us to not being able to have peace in our life. And that is not the design of God for us. I'm going to talk more about that. I can't wait. I look forward to bringing you the next part of Picking the Vine. Peace. Is it possible? And I'm going to show you that it absolutely is. God bless you, friends. Lord willing, we'll jump into this lesson off the deep end tomorrow. Take care.